Rukus Avenue Radio.
Hello, I'm Maya from Sadhguru's Isha Foundation, and you're listening to Rukus Avenue Radio.
Namaste and hello, Rukus Avenue Radio listeners. This is your correspondent, Priyadarshini G. We have a very special guest today because we are live, not in the studio, but via Zoom with the Sadhguru's Isha Foundation volunteer, Maya Rizkallah. Maya, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Priyadarshini. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too on Zoom. So tell us about your journey, a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the Isha Center and the Isha Foundation.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a full-time volunteer with Isha Foundation, and it all started by with me taking what we refer to as our flagship program, which is called Inner Engineering. So it was all the way back in 2004, and Sadhguru himself was visiting my native country, which is Lebanon. So I did the Inner Engineering program with him at the time. It's worth mentioning that I had, no inclination towards yoga or meditation or anything spiritual. I was kind of pushed into the program by my sister, who had done it, and she was very deeply touched by it. And she kept telling me, this is something that you have to try. So I really landed into the program, not knowing it was yoga or meditation or anything. I had no clue what I was getting into. I just kind of stepped into it with the trust in her that she recommended it. And in the program, I learned a simple yogic practice, which is called Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, which today millions of people are practicing across the world. And all I did was I just kept the practice day in, day out. And without even knowing what the benefits of the practice are, without really any expectations, I started noticing very subtle changes seeping into my life. And then I would say within 3 weeks' time, I looked back and I saw that I was a different person in so many ways. My body was behaving differently. I was more energetic. I was sleeping less. I had more appetite for life. And any work that, landed in my hands became really a very effortless process. I was a graphic designer, and, in the creative field, there's a lot of thinking involved. There's a lot of trial and error, and then somehow design solutions would come to me effortlessly. So, and there was no other change in my life, so I could only attribute all those changes to the practice that I was keeping up daily. And then I could clearly notice my body, longing for healthier foods, longing to steer away from any intoxicants without, any kind of thought process from my side. So there was definitely something which was very life-friendly working within me. And then it became a natural step a few months later to step forward and be a volunteer in these programs and just, see what it would be like to support others on the same journey that I was on and that so many other volunteers supported me through. So I gradually became more involved with the foundation, initially on a part-time basis. And then I decided to travel to the Isha Yoga Center in India, which is a beautiful and powerful space that Sadhguru has established for anybody who wants to explore the inner dimensions or, the yogic science really in its classical form. I spent 2 months there, and I came across a space I never thought existed. I encountered people I never imagined, a person could live like that. I spent 2 months in the center, and I started a teacher's training program for 2 months. So I was trained to conduct support sessions and Isha Yoga for children. As a fresh graduate, I wanted to go back home and I wanted to take on a full-time job because I didn't want to step into something too fast. So that's what I did. I went back to Beirut. I took on a full-time job, and I kept volunteering for the foundation, of course. And then within a year's time, there was a longing to go back to the center and this time, take a further step, intensify my training and maybe take the next level of teacher's training. So I thought I would be going for 6 months, and this was in beginning of 2007. And it's been 16 years since. So I've been a full-time volunteer with the foundation since then. I spent about a year at the Isha Yoga Center in India. I trained into the teacher's training program to conduct inner engineering programs, which I mentioned as our flagship program. Then I was based in the UK for 5 years. I supported the establishment of our UK center, classes and programs across Europe. And then in 2013, I moved to the United States, and I've been supporting the Isha Foundation's activities in California and the US West Coast since then. So that's really 18 years in a nutshell.
Yeah. That's an astounding story and repertoire that you've built for yourself, not just through your academic pursuits, but something that's so relatable to a lot of our viewers because you come from a civilian life. And although you had that push from your sister, you had no intention of digging deeper. It was just, okay, someone might say, hey, I tried this new ice cream flavor. You should try it too. And some people take it very lightly and like, okay, let's try it. And I think that is the best way of self-discovery because you find out what you're really capable of spiritually and mentally beyond the physical environment that you're in. Because I think that's the real test of sometimes when you're incubated and you are in a lockdown, so to speak, where you have a tunnel vision and you're, full on, accepting everything that is being taught to you. Do you really take those steps outside of that incubation to apply it to your real life world? And I think that's the magnificence of Sadhguru's teachings, is that they're very practical. Unlike other yogis or other gurus that, although they have their own merits, I feel like Sadhguru distinguishes himself because he gives answers to any simple materialistic question that a mortal can have, whether that is through anything. And he lives through example. And I think my brother and I, we also went on our own spiritual journey, not by force, but just naturally listening to YouTube videos and listening to some of his sermons. And, as second generation people, we had a lot of questions in this world and changing times. And we would see that other people had the same questions and they would ask very simple questions. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of that? And Sadhguru said some things that were spiritual, but very, very practical. And I remember watching an episode with Gordon Ramsay when he went to the Isha Foundation in India that you spoke of. And Sadhguru came in on a motorcycle and he said, just because I'm spiritual doesn't mean I'm impractical. And that has always stuck with me because it's the reality that we do live in a materialistic world, but how can we use spirituality as you have done throughout your transition and phase and your work and volunteership? How do we put that to practical use to take the next steps forward? So my next question for you is, when did you actually meet Sadhguru in person and how did that experience change your life or your spiritual path?
So I met Sadhguru when he was offering before the inner engineering program that he was conducting in Beirut. He was offering a public talk at the UNESCO Center, which is in Beirut. And I hadn't decided to do the program yet. So my sister told me just, see the public talk and then see how you feel. And then if you want to register the program or otherwise. And I remember I was a little late before the talk was about to start. So I was kind of rushing into the hall. And he was actually standing outside, just waiting to go in and come on stage. So this was my first encounter with him. And this is where I was running into the hall and I came face to face with him. And he just nodded, in greeting. And I remember at that time, I don't know, something very fundamental shook in me. But, as a 21-year-old college student, I kind of, I shrugged it and I dismissed whatever had whatever feeling I had within me. And I just went into the talk and sat. And it was really through the talk that everything changed because he brought up questions that I always had growing up. Mm-hmm. These were questions that I kind of grew up with and that became part of my life. And they were things that I encountered every step of my childhood or teenage years. Simple things like he was speaking about no matter how much we get, if we want something the moment we get it, we want the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And this is something that I always related to as a kid with the simple example of wanting a toy. And when I saw a toy in the window, I always longed for it and I wanted it. And I always thought that if I get that one toy, my life would be complete. And then the moment it landed in my hands, the magic of it was gone. And this was something that I had expressed to my parents at a very young age, that where's the end to this? Like if I don't have something, it looks so magical and so wonderful. And then the moment it's in my hand, the magic is gone. And then it's the next thing and the next thing. So this was one of the things that he addressed during the talk. And he spoke about the human longing to accumulate that stems from a very fundamental longing of being more than what we are right now. And that and how it connects to the human longing to expand and to become more. And it finds expression through acquisition or through friendship or through accumulation of knowledge. So it resonated with me because it was something I had very consciously seen in my own life. And he was asking a lot of questions, which were fundamentally my questions. So when I left the talk, it felt like, even though I was sitting in the hall with 500 attendees who were also very much a part of the talk, it felt like Sadhguru was speaking to me directly, because they were things that I related to very profoundly. And then I did the program 2 days later, and it really felt that I found something I was looking for my entire life. Without wanting to be very romantic or very, dramatic, but it genuinely felt like that. And as I kept on the practice, it just proved that it works. And this is why I'm a volunteer. This is why I'm with the foundation. It's not because of a certain belief or because of a certain idea or philosophy. It is just that I received something and I put it in my life and it worked. So Sadhguru says whatever works, and it worked for me. So I was young enough. I wasn't entangled in anything in life. I wasn't in a relationship. I wasn't in a family. And I had the flexibility and freedom to choose to be a part of Sadhguru's vision, to offer it to more people. And my life has only been going, uphill since then.
That's
uphill
amazing.
in terms of fulfillment. Okay, not in terms of hardship.
But I feel like that's how you attain fulfillment. For me, I feel like if you've had everything easy and everything that you wanted, you just got, you don't value it. You'll know the price of something, but you'll never know the value of that. And I think it's through those hardships and strife that you realize the importance of not success, but realize the importance of failure, and how that teaches you far beyond, much more than what any success can ever teach you. So I feel like without that strife, you'll never know what success is, and you never will feel fulfilled, because now you have achieved something, you've overcome that hill, and you're looking for the next hill to, as you say, enlighten yourself and keep on moving onwards and upwards. So you mentioned that you had your journey as a college student at 21. A lot of our listeners are of that, young age, second generation, in this race of economic strife and issues with work, issues with relationships, issues with family, economy, so on and so forth. And you described how your experience at 21 from Beirut led to you traveling eventually a couple of years later down to the Isha Center in India. Can you tell us more about what Sadhguru's Isha Center in India can give to anyone looking for a different experience? What was that like?
So one thing is, I want to clarify that, if you want to explore the inner dimensions of who you are, which is what yoga fundamentally is all about, it's a device to really understand every aspect of who you are, from body, mind, emotion, and life energies. It's not that you need to be in one particular place. It can happen anywhere. However, there are spaces which are conducive for that. So, and Sadhguru refers to them as infrastructures for raising human consciousness, because every aspect of the space is conducive and supportive for someone to explore the yogic science in its full depth. And the center is designed that way. Every aspect of the center, from the architecture to, how you flow into the space, to the volunteers there. So the space is maintained and taken care of by dedicated volunteers who are not doing this for the material or financial benefit of it. They are doing it because their lives have been touched and they want to extend it to someone else. And in addition to that, there are various programs, offerings, and what Sadhguru refers to as consecrated spaces, which in the yogic science, there's a whole science and there's a whole technology as to how to convert a mere four-walled room into a space where if you simply sit and close your eyes, meditation can happen effortlessly. So the Isha Yoga centers, whether it's the Isha Yoga Center in India or we have the Isha Institute of Inner Sciences here in Tennessee, which is a 2 hours drive from the Nashville airport, or other centers that will be growing and are currently growing across the world. Right now, there's an Isha Yoga Center happening in Bangalore, which will be open to the public, within the next few years. So all these spaces are designed for this. They offer an optimal and conducive environment to explore the science of yoga and for people to become meditative and to grow really into what we as human beings can ultimately experience as our humanity. So at least from my own inner experience, the space is really indescribable. Just the moment I stepped into the space, the way my body was behaving, I was more energetic. It was more effortless to wake up in the morning. There is a daily schedule, which is really supportive, where we wake up before sunshine. We do before sunrise. We do our practices early in the morning, which equips us to maintain a certain level of balance and stability and clarity throughout the day. Initially, I thought I would be going and seeing people meditating everywhere. Then I discovered it's a space where people are active 18, sometimes even 20 hours a day, without experiencing a hint of stress or anxiety or frustration. So there's tremendous activity going on there, but it's really, it stands as an evidence that we as human beings are capable of living in ways we never imagined possible, which is impacting the world in a very fundamental way, while maintaining a level of inner balance and stability, and a sense of care and love for all life forms around us. So the space is a cocoon or an infrastructure for people to experience that. And this is why we also see a lot of very young people, fresh college graduates or fresh students who come there, and really they want to have a taste of what we are truly capable of as human beings. And the space definitely facilitates that.
That's wonderful, because I know many students want to visit the main center in India first and then go back to their hometown and look for a local center thereafter to continue their practice. And therefore, I asked that question. Of course, like you mentioned, spirituality is not location conducive. It can happen with anywhere where you're sitting to calm and stabilize your mind, like you said. Now, my next question for you is, you talked about how the yogic sciences respects the environment in which you live in and giving back. And I wanted to touch upon the Save Soil project that is Sadhguru's initiative going forward. And I know he spent, I believe, 100 days on his motorcycle across different countries trying to promote this specific project. So could you please talk to us about that?
Sure. So Sadhguru has been speaking about, was speaking about the Safe Soil movement since probably the end of 2021. And then it was officially launched in the spring of 2022, where I'm sure you would have heard Sadhguru undertook a grueling motorcycle journey across 90 days. And he rode from London to India on a motorcycle just to raise awareness on the issue of soil degradation. So the Safe Soil movement is a global movement that Sadhguru has launched, and it addresses the soil crisis. The core purpose of the project is to bring together people from around the world to stand up, be aware, and also speak up for soil health. And most importantly, getting the support of leaders from all nations to institute the necessary policy changes and actions that will support increasing the organic content in cultivable soil to a minimum of 3 to 6%. So basically, the main issue is that the depletion of the organic content in the soil is so dramatic that what we're saying is that we don't have many years of agricultural soil yet, of agricultural soil left. So this poses tremendous issues in terms of basic livelihood of people, where nutrition is in question, but also even problems that we suffer from today, which is the lack of nutrition in fruits and vegetables and any crops that come out of the soil. So this is the biggest environmental crisis that is unfolding right underneath our feet. And really, up until Sadhguru started speaking about the issue, at least I didn't know how severe the problem was. And I know that millions of people around the world didn't. There were a few organizations, there were a few people voicing the problem, but it hadn't reached mass awareness yet. Bearing in mind the imminence and the severity of the problem, it was quite shocking to see the lack of awareness about it. So in many ways, Sadhguru put his life on the line, because sometimes this is what it takes for people to open their eyes to a nagging problem. And the main purpose of his motorcycle journey, which is really, I can't seem to still, fathom how a man who's over 60 years old can spend 90 days on a motorcycle in the most grueling physical conditions, whether through the cold or the rain or the deserts of Arabia, just relentlessly going on from city to city, from country to country, and an unbelievable number of meeting encounters, press interviews, events, just to raise awareness on soil health. So the movement had a tremendous response. And billions of people across the world have been made aware of the soil crisis. And the movement is not over yet. So Sadhguru's journey was just the start to raise awareness. But of course, the movement will not stop unless the necessary policy changes happen in local countries and across the world to ensure that soil health is reinstated, not only for this generation, but most importantly for the generations to come. Because what kind of world we leave for our children, in many ways, will decide what kind of generation we were. The last thing we want is the next generation looking back at us with great animosity for what we have left behind. So we were all part of the mess, and it's up to us to fix it.
No, I think that's beautifully said. And I feel like we always talk about going back to our roots. In this case, not just our spiritual roots, but literally the soil from which we come from and which we all eventually will go towards. And I think it's an incredibly tremendous big task that only Sadhguru himself could have taken on. If I think about this, and I feel like he went through this tremendous 100-day journey or 90-day journey, as you mentioned, from London to India. I feel like only a man of his caliber and his spiritual strength could have been able to endure the physical stamina and the physical strength that it took to create more awareness. And I know we have an event coming up in Los Angeles next week about the Save Soil event. So what would you like to say about the event specifically?
Yeah. So since the really onset of the pandemic, we have not been able to hold public events for reasons that everybody knows. So this is the first public event with Sadhguru in over 3 years' time, which is happening at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. And actually, the event is not themed for Safe Soil. I'm sure Sadhguru will speak about Safe Soil because the Safe Soil movement is on. But actually, the event is called Karma. And it's around the theme of karma, which is in line with the book that Sadhguru launched last year in spring of 2021, which is Karma, a Yogi's Guide to Crafting Your Destiny. So through the event, Sadhguru will speak about the mechanics of karma. And karma is a very widely misunderstood and misinterpreted term in the world today, because people always understand karma as, cause and effect or getting what you deserve. So Sadhguru will really delve in depth about what karma truly means. And how it can really shape who we are as a human being, and how it's a very powerful device that you can use to sit in the driver's seat of your life, and really empowering every human being to craft and to shape their life the way they want it. So the Karma book is a New York Times bestselling book. And the event is a great opportunity to be with Sadhguru in person. We know through the pandemic, a lot of people have been exposed to Sadhguru online through the Safe Soil movement, through various online events that we continued through the pandemic. So this is also an opportunity to get to meet him and sit with him in person and hear what he has to speak directly. The beautiful thing about Sadhguru is that nothing is pre-planned. Basically, we never know what he's going to speak at an event. What he says, what he speaks depends on who's sitting in front of him. So for us, it's always new. every single, though we've sat through hundreds of talks with Sadhguru, it's every time a fresh perspective, and it's always surprises us how many things he can shed light on. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I agree with your notion that every single talk that he has is profoundly different, because he's very good at audience, gauging the audience and the people he's speaking to. And he's very receptive of their responses and interactions, and curtailing the story that he tells through his intelligence and spiritual awakening to resonate with them. Because at the end of the day, it's about what the audience is taking forward and the message that people are receiving, so that they can create that chain reaction and to instigate change, like you said, not only about the Save Soil project, but also karma. And I can also agree on the other earlier fact that you said, that in Western society, karma is highly, I would say, underrepresented and undervalued. It's kind of simplistically kind of put as tit for tat, but it's so much more than that. And with karma, I think we attribute that to a lot of dharma, which the Western audience doesn't know what that is, but they don't know that the duty word comes from the Sanskrit word of dharma, and it's correlated. And I feel like that would be a very enlightening conversation for our listeners to come and join Sadhguruji and your foundation and all the other volunteers to interact and learn more about both projects. So it's going to be next Saturday at the Shrine
Sunday.
Excuse me, on the 30th, October 30th, next Sunday, October 30th, at the Shrine Center. So we'd encourage all of our Rukus Ave Radio listeners to check out the details for the event in the description box, and hopefully get a chance to participate in the long run, not just for the event, but see where that journey takes everyone else. But Maya, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're extremely busy and swamped with all of your responsibilities and duties that you have, like your dharma and your karma that you are following, like we discussed. And I look forward to meeting you, but I thank you so much for your time in this wonderful interview.
Same here, Priyadarshini, and really, I hope we get to meet in person someday. And
yes, we will. We will definitely speak right after this interview. But it was an honor speaking with you, and I hope that all of our attendees and listeners are able to attend the event next Sunday, October 30th, at the Shrine Center to meet Sadhguru, to speak about his book Karma, and also the Save Soil project, amongst other things that we would not be able to fathom what he has up his sleeves. So this is your Rukus Avenue radio correspondent, Priyadarshini, signing off. Until next time.
Naturally, I become conscious. When you do something consciously, you will do what really matters to you. If all of us genuinely do what truly matters to us, we will make instantly a wonderful world. Hello? Right now, we are doing many things in reaction to somebody's nonsense. He did nonsense, so I will do double nonsense. I did double nonsense, he will do it 4 times. He did 4 times, I'll do 8 times. In the end, we are in a heap of trash. Hello? He did this, she did this, I did this. This is not the point. This is a simple process of you stop the buck and suddenly you're free from that. So if you're free from it, then you become a part of the solution. You're no more a part of the problem. And that's all you can do in the world. Are you a part of the problem or are you a part of the solution? What is your choice? If you're a part of the solution, then not that everything will be solved tomorrow morning, but we start moving towards a solution. There is never going to be that perfect situation where everything is solved, only a fool will think like that. Because we are capable of manufacturing new problems, hello? If you solve one, can't we create another one? We can. So it is not about thinking in terms, it's juvenile to think that everything will be okay if I do this or that. That's not the way. In our generation, do we want to create more solutions or more problems? This is a choice that we have, because this is our time on the planet. Hello? This is our time on the planet, and it's a very brief amount of time. I want you to understand this. Please look at this carefully. Our time and our presence on the planet, both in terms of time and space, is such a minuscule. Hello? Yes. It is an absolute minuscule amount of time and space that you and me are occupying here. This minuscule, you want to waste it running after this guy, that person, that person, because she did that, he did that. No, you do what you want to do. If you want to do what you want to do, what truly matters to you, it's extremely important that you see my life is my karma, it's my making. What I'm experiencing right now is my making. Somebody else is some other way. You can't change all of that right now. But once you are peaceful and joyful by your own nature, will you be a solution for the situation also? Yes. Not an absolute solution. Solutions are always incremental. There are different kinds of problems in different societies. Where is the problem? The problem is you believe things that you do not know. Till humanity is willing to come to a place where what I do not know, I do not know. No, whatever I do not know, I believe. And till whatever you say, you are willing to say, it's me who is speaking this. As long as your gods and angels don't speak through you, as long as they are speaking, there is no solution. Because nobody can check out the authenticity of who said what, because only I heard. Hello? What my God spoke, only I heard, right? So, what do? So we need to reduce this. This is very important, that we need to reduce the temperature of what you believe and what I believe. Believe whatever nonsense you want, just know it's nonsense, that's all.
Rukus Avenue Radio.